Manx Radio's Countryside is brought to you by NFU Mutual.
Hello and welcome to this week's Countryside here on Manx Radio. I'm Simon Clark.
And I'm Kirree. Last week when we were at the Food and Drink Festival, we also popped along to the Loaghtans Experience, and there we caught up with Jim Middleton and John Wood.
We also went to Jurby to help the litter picking campaign for the Jurby and Northern Community Initiative, and also I spoke to Jackie Farragut about an event that's happening in Andreas next week. Well, we didn't get a chance to pack everything in on last week's Countryside, Kirree. Our experience at the Isle of Man Food and Drink Festival. We tried to get as much in with the local produce, of course, as we could. And one such local one, we thought we'd save them instead of cutting them down and getting them both in this week, was to do with, something in your area, really, the sheep, and particularly the Loaghtans sheep, which are so much part of the heritage of the Isle of Man.
They really are, Simon, and what a lovely idea it was to have them all in the one marquee, the Loaghtans Experience, to have the live sheep there, and then the process with the wool, and then obviously the grill pit with the lovely Manx Loaghtans lamb there, deliciously served up in baps. Jim Middleton, well, this is a nice experience, the Loaghtans Experience, a new tent to the Food and Drink Show.
Hi, Kirree. Yes, it's worked out very well, actually. It was a concept I think the department came up with. Audrey and everybody's put a lot of work into it, and it seems to work very well for us this year.
And it is a huge attraction having live animals at any event. But this year in particular, Jim, we lost the Southern and the Royal Manx Agricultural Shows to COVID. This is a great opportunity for the children to interact.
It is. I mean, it was a great shame losing both agricultural shows this year, so it's nice to get animals out to some sort of event at least. It's amazing, despite the fact we have 2 agricultural shows every year, it's amazing how many people don't seem to get close to animals anymore. So it's been a bit of an eye-opener, really.
And the Loaghtans lamb you have here on display is a true example with the lovely 4 horns.
He is a good lamb, yeah. He's just a 6-month-old ram lamb and a couple of ewes. Just got them out to show the people what it's all about and help the storyline of the wool and what we're trying to do here. So we have John from Laxey Woolen Mill over there, busily on his loom paddling away, creating the fabric. Jenny from Ballacoshnaghan is selling yarns and wools, and we do the sheepskin rugs, as you know, and cushions and things.
And that is the real thing, isn't it? It's from the farm, basically using every piece of that animal, you know, to the table, and obviously the byproduct in being the wool. But what a great product the Manx Loaghtans wool is.
Well, it is. It's just been undervalued for many years, and as you know, the global price for wool this year is on the floor. So it illustrates, in a small way, the problems that we all have with all wool, but at least with sort of niche products and niche wools, you can add a bit of value as you go. As I say, with John at Laxey, the only commercial woolen mill we still have on the island, these things need to be encouraged and kept, otherwise we'll lose them, you know.
And that is exactly it. And I do think people maybe miss the likes of watching John using his loom, of how garments are actually made.
Well, it's interesting to see because he's using an old Hattersley loom there, and it's early 1900s, so it's a pedal loom. Now, it's the same sort of loom that they use for doing Harris Tweed. Now, everybody knows about world-famous Harris Tweed from the west coast of Scotland, but when you actually see the history of Laxey Woolen Mill, it actually predates Harris Tweed. So we've got a product there that's even older than Harris Tweed, which is world-famous. And as usual in the Isle of Man, we don't sell ourselves very well.
No, and that is exactly that. But I do believe there's a strong demand for the woolen products out to America in particular.
Yeah, I think John's managed to build on some of that international business, and long may it continue, but he's also building a home base, which is important, so that there's people who come today to see what we do, and they've never been to Laxey Woolen Mill, for instance, and even with the sheep, a lot of locals aren't aware that we even have our own breed of sheep here. So we've still got a lot of educating to do, and if we don't actually get out there and do it, it doesn't get done, does it?
This is exactly it. And like you said, it's been a great opportunity to have the Manx Loaghtans Experience. It's the first time I've seen it brought together as a collaboration, but it definitely has worked.
Yeah, it has worked, and I think it's something we'd look at potentially doing in the future around the agricultural shows. So as long as everybody gets a bit of business out of it, then the more we can work together, the better it is for everybody, isn't it?
Well, John Wood, you're in charge of the... Doesn't look like a 2020 loom that you've got here.
The 2020? No, this is a 1926 loom.
Really?
Yeah, it's a pedal loom that was built in 1926 and still going today.
And Is the principle of automatic machines and modern ones basically the same as this?
It's the same way of weaving a piece of cloth, whether it's on a modern machine or an old machine, yes. But I have to say the quality on the old machines of the actual fabric is actually better.
And what are you making on this one today? You got a sort of brown khaki colour, is it? I don't know what you call it.
Well, it's called Manx Lockton. That's pure Manx Lockton in the loom there. And we're going to be making caps and jackets with that when it's finished.
Right, so we've had a chat with Jim over there,
Yeah.
who's in charge of the Manx Lockton. So,
Yeah.
I mean, where does the process go from the Lockton, and then when the wool comes off?
Right. We get the wool from Jim, but we have to send it away to get spun into yarn, and we get it spun in Scotland. And then it comes back to us, and that's where we take over and where we put the cloth together.
Yeah, and is there just one sort of colour on this particular one?
Well, Manx Lockton comes one colour, so yeah, we've added a little bit of colour into this one, just the odd fleck of red and white in it, just to give it a little bit of interest. But Manx Lockton's Manx Lockton. To get the variation in cloths, we have to source other coloured wools to give us the variation in all the tweeds we do. But we thought we'd show Manx Lockton for this event because it is the Manx Lockton experience.
Is it a difficult one to work with, and how does the finished product compare with the other wools used?
The Manx Lockton is quite superior in some ways to
Really?
a lot of other traditional wools, yeah. It has a softness to it, but it also has a great warmth to it as well. But that's the nature of the beast on how it grows the wool.
Right, and is it a difficult machine to set up, this loom?
Oh, with practice, no, not particularly like anything else. Once you know how, it's easy.
Yeah, well, all right, give us a go on it then, keep it going.
That was Simon there with John Wood from Laxey Woolen Mills and myself talking to Jim Middleton.
Yeah, very good that, well, wasn't it? You know, and it's some noise from the old loom clashing about, but to see the material there coming out of the end of it, you know, and I thought, wow, you know, that's going to be a jacket or something nice. The old country gents jacket.
That's right,
Yes.
and it was some lovely garments on display. But isn't it always nice? You think you go into Marks and Spencer's and all these other shops and you think there's the garment. How was it ever made? You don't ever think of it, do you?
No.
And to see it there in all its glory, and one of the last ones around, I believe.
Yeah, well, I think your dad and Caesar will be in there to get one of them jackets made for themselves, won't they, in the future?
But that Lockton tweed is gorgeous, isn't it? All different shades of brown, and Jim's so proud there, and all the other people in that tent of that Lockton wool.
Yeah. Well, I went to an event in Jurby at the weekend, ran by the Jurby and Northern Community Initiatives, and it involved picking some litter up around the village. Young and old were there, and I caught up firstly with one of the members of the committee, Yasmin Cowell, and first put it to her, they drafted in the help of the Beach Buddies team.
Yeah, Beach Buddies, they're always good to muck in and provide litter pickers and bags for everyone to, you know, go and do their bit for the community. But this time we thought we'd put something different on it and offer some free burgers and sausages to people that are going to come out and lend a hand, I suppose, and gather the rubbish.
Yeah, well, it was a fine day for it, certainly, and quite a few people, young and old, have turned out. Yeah.
Do you know, actually this time there's been quite a lot of young people, which is always nice to see. But yeah, it's a good variety of ages. It's really good turnout, yeah.
And one of the difficult things around here, there's so much goes on the airfield there, and bits of paper blown out of people's hands, I suppose, and they always head this way and get gathered in these hedges. So it was quite strange. It was like the start of something where everyone headed out in a different direction and all come out with full bags.
They did, full bags. Normally you can see them all around the camp gathering, but like you said, it's been quite sporadic this year. People were heading down the beach lane and over the, like you said, the airfield and on both estates, really. So it was very spread out, this one. It's nice, really. They've had to go searching for it. It's not in your face this year. So it means it's improving, which is a good thing as well.
But the initiative itself, I mean, is it going somewhere? I mean, are you getting lots of support?
Yeah, I mean, there's always room for more. But as far as the support goes, yeah, we're very impressed. The turnout's brilliant. Everyone does their bit. They chip in, and it's just a real nice community event. People make cakes and donate them, and people have donated burgers and sausages, and we've borrowed barbecues, and everyone's just mucked in and done their bit, really.
And they're all still here.
And they're all still here, yeah, all still here. It's nice.
Let's get a chat with some of the Beach Buddies team then. Bill Dale, you got the full fleet down today.
We did. The fantastic thing is we had 47 people turned up. I mean, you think about the size of Jurby. How many people live here? About 400, something like that. We had an event in Douglas yesterday and 10 turned up. So it just shows you the difference in the community spirit between Jurby and somewhere like Douglas, where there's 40,000 people live. So it's been a really good day.
Yeah, well, you got the team with you, Lindsay and Michelle. You get involved with beaches normally, I suppose, it's more associated with. But what's it like to get out in the community and be picking up the rubbish just around a village?
Oh, it's great, yeah. Just meeting up with them, with different people. It's brilliant. It's really good fun. Kids all out having a great time. So it's fab.
And what sort of things were found today?
We found all sorts today. A Tommy Cooper hat.
A whaty?
A Tommy Cooper hat.
All right.
Here it is.
Which Bill has had on and doing a
I
very
thought
good
that was an old air
impersonation.
filter. Pity we can't see that on the radio here.
We found lots of plastic, the usual rubbish, plastic bottles, cans, all sorts, tyres.
Yeah, and strange, large, huge piece of purple material, gigantic piece, and you just wonders where these things come from.
Yeah, and it's difficult, I suppose, with all the events that happen on the airfield here, which is blowing it this way. And as you said before, it's just nice that so many people got involved today on a beautiful day.
And lots of children too, Simon, yeah. And you brought your little boy as well, you know, so it's great when you see the young people come out as a family. And then they go home and tell other people, you know, they tell aunties and uncles, and that's why we spend so much time in schools, because the children go home and educate their parents. But there were a lot of children here today, so it's good for the future, I think.
Yeah. And what's next for you next week?
Where are we going, girls? I think we're going south next week. We alternate between north and south each week, so it'll be a beach south, possibly Langness area, somewhere like that.
But all the details available though.
Yeah, and you guys are very good to put it on the radio for us. So the details go on our Facebook page. And
let's get a chat with Owen Atkinson. You've been at Jurby today, involved in the litter picking, but from a different perspective.
Yeah, right. So this is going to be one episode in a podcast series I'm making about community spaces on the Isle of Man, and I thought Jurby and Northern Community Initiatives would be a good place to come for that. And with the event on today, thought I'd take part, see what it's all about, and discover what's going on in the Jurby community.
And what got you involved in wanting to pursue this sort of thing, to spread the words about what communities are doing?
Well, there's just so much going on the Isle of Man, and I think the value of community is something that is so difficult to... it's not something that you can write on a graph. It's not something you put on a spreadsheet. But it's something that's so important to the people, especially in a place like the Isle of Man. So I thought it would be a good way to highlight what's going on our island, and in the number of different ways and the number of different places that people are coming together.
Yeah. So what other sort of areas have you visited?
So I spoke to Mother Tees in Laxey. It's a community hub, a bit like this one. And then somebody from Soundcheck, a youth music project, someone from the Manx Deaf Society as well. There's also Amy from the Saddle, who've just started a queer club night on the Isle of Man as well. So yeah, lots of different spaces, lots of different events. Yeah,
and have you found it interesting so far, finding out about the little communities in different parts of the island and how they differ?
Totally, yeah. I surprised myself when researching it. I put out a post on Facebook asking for interest to see what kind of things there were, and I was surprised by how many different spaces, people, events are happening to bring people together on the island. So that was a big surprise, but a pleasant one. Yeah,
and you're going to gather all the information, obviously, in written form and recorded form eventually, will it?
Yes, so the podcast in development currently, so watch this space, and then I'm going to be writing it out and hopefully pitching it to local papers or self-publishing as well.
So let's talk to some of the people, the younger generation who've been involved today. What have you been doing?
Litter picking. Yeah, litter picking.
And what sort of litter did you pick up?
Snails. Plastic.
Snails?
Yeah, I picked up snails and I accidentally dropped them, but they're still alive. Yeah, me too.
What did you...
And I also picked up a 25-litre container. What's that?
Really?
Yeah, plastic. We found an aerial. Yeah, we found an aerial. We played with it and fought over it.
Yeah. Did you think it was good that lots of people came today?
Yes. Especially the kids.
Yeah. And what did you do with the rubbish when you brought it back?
Put it in a truck, thingamabobby. Yeah.
Yeah. Did you have a good day?
Yeah. We also played table tennis.
Well, there's some of the kids telling me about what they'd picked up on the day. Before that, Owen Atkinson telling us about his visits to various communities in the Isle of Man to get their thoughts on that and find out what's happening for later podcasts that he's going to set up. And also, I spoke to the Beach Buddies team, Bill Dale and Michelle and Lindsay as well, and firstly, Yasmin Cowell from the committee. So well done to one and all there. Yeah, the snails were safe, though, Kirree, which was good to know, wasn't it?
Thank goodness for that. But isn't it lovely, Simon, to hear the children so enthusiastic getting out on our Manx countryside and giving it a good tidy up and spruce, especially this time of year when, the daylight hours are running short and you're always looking for something to do. But what a great opportunity.
Yeah, and of course, it's difficult there with quite a windy place, Jurby, of course, and with all the events happening on the airfield, you can't control everything. And of course, it all blows into the gorse and the hedges, so... there's nowhere else for it to go, but well done to everyone involved in that. You're listening to Countryside here on Manx Radio with Kirree Kermode and myself, Simon Clark. Well, harvest for us from the agricultural background just brings a tear to my eye in a way. It reminds me of school. I always talk to Phil Gorn about it, the harvest home when we used to bring the sheaves of the corn in, to put on the, for the things at the school.
It really was a special time at school. And even still, lots of harvest homes happening around the Manx countryside. And we'll hear about Harvest in the Barn at Ballacrega next week in Glenmay. That's always, always well supported. But like you say, the tradition of the harvest loaf is always my favourite part, and the big sheath made out of the bread and the little mouse somewhere hidden amongst it all, and a great tradition. And when they auction the produce off, you're able to buy it and fetch it home.
Indeed. Well, our last piece involves the Andreas community, and I went along to speak to Jackie Farragher and her and her husband Leslie, who run the hen farm there with the free-range eggs. But she had a different hat on her, arranging a different event for the community, and I spoke to her to find out more about it.
Yeah, 3 or 4 of us just got together and thought it was a little bit sad that there's nothing going on in the village this year. The community calendar for the village has been depleted because of Corona. So we thought, here we go, we'll just put on a bit of a show for the youngsters of the village.
And that's one thing, I suppose, that the Roots Show has been famed for over the recent years, I suppose. They've involved the kids of Andrews School and a lot of entries from the younger ones. So I suppose it would be a shame if there was nothing for them, because they're back at school and they've got the chance to get something into the show.
Yeah, well, you know yourself, the kids dipped out on 6 months education this year. They've been stuck at home. Maybe they've learned a new skill, or maybe the parents have learned a new skill. So we thought we'd do something along the lines of craft and what have you. So went in to see the school teacher, and the school threw their weight behind it. So we thought, right, if we've got a little bit of interest, we'll get a programme on the go, and there you go.
So what sort of things are you going to be having that's going to entertain the crowds that are going to flock to Andrews Parish Hall?
Well, there's sure to be crowds, isn't there? Well, there's all sorts here. It's just like a sort of shrunk down version of a normal sort of produce show, just sort of jams, jellies, chutneys, and shrunk it down from like 210 classes down to 45. But there's a class there for everybody, whether you're young or old, male or female. Each class is for the children and the adults, so it's an open class. So I was just thinking there, Simon, you might be wanting to make a key worker out of an egg, like a radio presenter.
Some say I've got a head like an egg anyway, that's one thing we're saying. But it's part of it, isn't it? Because, I mean, a lot of the men, I suppose, get involved in cooking and preparing meals, for at home nowadays. So I suppose there's a good chance for the guys to cook a cake or a scone or something like that, isn't there?
Yeah, there could be men out there that have never grown a spud before, Simon, and thought, with the lockdown and what have you, we might dig the garden over and grow a spud or something. They might want to bring it to the show and show it off, and we'll be more than happy to see it.
So what is this a sort of small committee that's put this together?
Well, yeah, small is the... there's four of us. I'll name and shame them now, seeing how they sent me to do the interview. There's myself, Joe Brew, Belinda Leach, and Sarah Brown. And between the four of us, running around like headless chickens and roping people in, and the community of, Andrews and all around really are fantastic, because they've all jumped on board, and Paul Kirree's sponsored the printing of all of the schedules and prize cards and what have you. And then if you look at the back there, Simon, the list of people who have put produce in, they're fantastic. And because so many people have put themselves behind this, we thought, right, we'll see if we can promote them by making hampers. Big hampers all full of all locally grown produce from all around, lots of it from around the village, meat, vegetables, cheese, seafood, flour, bread, cakes, anything, you name it, it's all going to be in these hampers.
Yeah, well, one thing I suppose it shows is that people want this to continue because they're eager to put bits into it and put a little bit of help behind it.
Oh, I think without a doubt, I think this here is, with there not being a route show this year, I think that this here will keep the momentum going, and hopefully next year the people that have entered this will continue and enter into the route show and keep the momentum going, keep it going.
Yeah, and the floral art as well. I mean, have you heard from many of them how flowers and plants have been this year?
No, but I think they've got you can decorate a welly here with flowers and what have you. I think we've covered every sort of class, every medium there is for, and kids and adults. It's a community thing, kids and adults. If there isn't a class there for you, Simon, I'm sure we can put one on the bottom.
Well, there's one for a scarecrow there that I might get involved in making as well.
Well, there you go.
It'd be handy to get him ready and get him on top of the bonfire for November.
Well, it'll be interesting to see. There are people ringing up now and entering stuff into the show. I think the Friday night beforehand there, I think there'll be a lot of people then entering into the show. But I mean, it's a sort of our first attempt at it. So, but we're quietly confident that we can get it all sorted and up and running and be steady away on the day.
There we are, Jackie Farragher telling us about the Andreas Community Show, which is on this Saturday, the 3rd of October. The show opens at 1 o'clock and entries may be removed from 4:30 onwards. Entries free as well into the hall, and refreshments available just for donations as well, for tea and coffee and homemade cake, and the big prize raffle including the locally produced food hampers. It happens at 4 o'clock. So good luck with that. As they said, they're not, they're just trying to do something a little bit different to keep the kids interested and things like that.
That's it. It's always so important to get out in the community and enjoy these events and keep them going, isn't it? And especially this year with all that's happening in the world, local produce is right there at the forefront, isn't it?
It is indeed. But that's it for this week's Countryside. If you've got anything for the programme, let Kirree or myself know, or send an email to countryside@manxradio.com. We're back next Tuesday from 6. Until then, from me, Simon Clark.
I'm me, Kirree Kermode.
We'll see you then. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.